are some questions that you get asked so frequently that they sum up the course of your life. For me, those questions are, is entertainment and sports law all that you practice? Are you sure you don't practice any other real areas of law, like criminal law, conveyancing? You don't draft any wills? How come you don't dress like a lawyer? I hardly ever see you in black, or wearing stockings, or carrying that suitcase trolley thing that I see many lawyers carrying their books in across town. And most recently, how come you produce and host a YouTube series? I thought that was only for creative people. And by far, the most annoying. How come you have such a strong convent accent when you went to Bishop's? But the truth is, I didn't go to Bishop's, but that's another story. Over the past 8 years of having my boutique entertainment and sports law practice, I've been bombarded by questions of doubt from seemingly concerned onlookers about the very untraditional path of self-employment that I chose in this field. But I stand here today to tell you with complete certainty that that seemingly unstable path of intellectual property law is currently one of the key business tools that is going to transform and future-proof our currently failing economy. You may be asking yourself, how does intellectual property help? But I will tell you that later on. Finding this path for myself was not easy. I had to design it. There were no set templates of what an entertainment and sports lawyer's practice looked like. And the truth is, while everyone in the final year of Hugh Wooding Law School was plotting what law firms they would apply to, I was plotting my escape from law. I was plotting my escape from Trinidad and Tobago because I didn't want to get stuck. And I thought I wanted to pursue my creative ambitions. I want to see what else is out there. So I moved to London on a 2-year working holiday visa. And there I worked in short-term jobs in the creative industry. When I moved back to Trinidad, I landed the role of an entertainment and news reporter in a local TV station. And that is where the seeds of entertainment law became planted. Because I met so many creative people in design, in fashion, in film, in sports, who, although they were all very talented, very few had any idea how to monetize their skills and passions. In short, they could not future-proof themselves. We are living in a society now where it can no longer be said that it is those who chose untraditional paths for themselves in the arts who are now living uncertain lives. In fact, it is those who are existing in the traditional fields who are facing the most instability. We are seeing on the nightly news many doctors, those in the telecom sector, those in banking, and of course, in oil and gas, who are being sent home for reasons of a changing economy and landscape. We have been hearing for years, we are going to start a diversification thrust, and yet, nothing. At least in my view, nothing substantial. I know that there are many of you who are asking, how can intellectual property law help to transform our economies? How can it help me to become future-proof? Well, intellectual property refers to creations of the mind. Inventions, literary and artistic works, symbols, names, and images used in commerce. You may also be asking yourself, how do I transform an idea into a viable business product? How do I, a banker, a yoga instructor, a caterer, and a tradesman. How do I do this now? Well, I want to give you an example of a local entrepreneur who did just that. Meet Ashley Parris. Ashley's background was in sustainable development. And a couple years ago, he apparently met a British High Commissioner who mentioned to him that our cocoa industry could be very viable. For the next 3 years, he decided to set about the business of finding out what are the challenges in the cocoa industry and what solutions can I implement to help make this sector more vibrant. And he found that what was missing was a cocoa processing facility. In 2015, he developed this facility, and a few short years later, entered into co-branding opportunities with prestigious departments like Harrods out of London, where they developed chocolates, fine artisan luxury chocolates. In talking about this accomplishment, Ashley said, ultimately, the aim is to turn Trinidad and Tobago into the world's premier chocolate destination. It seems, though, that the wider Trinidad and Tobago is, in fact, catching on to the notion of entrepreneurship. Because everywhere I turn, there are master classes, workshops, pop-up shops, lunchtime sessions, you name it, with this new sexy phrase, entrepreneurship. And then there's also these new classes that are popping up everywhere. How to be a brand. Social media is the new norm. But I ask you to consider this. What is the value of teaching our citizens how to develop products and services, how to develop films, how to be animators and tech startup geniuses, if you are also simultaneously not teaching them how to protect their intellectual property law, these goods and services that they are being taught to distribute onto the open market? Intellectual property law contains many areas that are of interest to entrepreneurs, but I wanted to talk specifically to some of the 4 main areas that I see all of the time and that most traumatize our citizens. Copyright law and confidentiality. I'm sure that many of you know friends and family members who are excited about their new business ideas, entrepreneurship. And they decided that they were going to develop a business proposal and pitch it to a local company. They developed the proposal, emailed, submitted, and then got a call. I'm sorry, I'm not interested in your idea. It's really no good. Only for a few months later to see that same company implement your idea, except with everyone else but you. Trademarks and branding. I'm also sure that many of you have friends and family, or maybe even you, who've developed a Facebook page and Instagram account to promote your goods and services. You have a following, you're developing a big viewership. You're happy, you're doing your IG Live. And all of a sudden, you see somebody develop a Facebook page with the same or similar name or logo, and now everybody's confused. Who exactly am I supposed to be buying these products from? Trade secrets and recipes. Many of you may also know persons who, in the upcoming months to Christmas, are developing new food recipes, panchakrama, black cake, and so forth. Are you being taught in these entrepreneurial classes whether or not these secrets are worthy of trade secret protection in the same way that Coca-Cola has protected its recipe for years? It is time for us to get serious. As a people, as a nation, as a Caribbean region, and really develop an innovation framework where, apart from equipping our very creative people with the legal and business tools to help propel their businesses into a global economy, we develop a framework where we tap into the entrepreneurial skills of these innovators to diversify our economy. Just look at some of our innovators and how talented they are.
Go down, go down, go down, go down, my girl,
I'm sure that many of you know that earlier in this year, Nyla Blackman was nominated by BET for Best New International Act. She didn't win the award, but can you quantify how many people logged online, watched that television broadcast, were on Facebook and so forth following this young girl's career? And what about Winston? Winnie, as I like to call him. Although he doesn't know it yet, but he will. And then, what about Olatunji Yearwood? I have been inundated with broadcast messages from trainees talking about X Factor. Olatunji is there. He's not singing pop. He's not singing anything that belongs to any other island but ourselves. Are we tapping into these skill sets? I am certain that one thing that Olatunji has developed in the last 2 weeks are new cousins. I'm certain about that. But are we preparing these people for the future? And are we tapping into them to get to the next stage in our economy? It seems that our next-door neighbors, however, are understanding the importance of tapping into creative entrepreneurs to help to transform their economies. Most recently, our next-door neighbor, Barbados, conferred the title of Ambassador Extraordinaire on Rihanna for the sole purpose of promoting innovation, education, and tourism within the country. And what I found interesting about this particular title is that for us, ambassadors typically have political backgrounds, international relations backgrounds, but here we find a pop icon who has demonstrated significant entrepreneurial genius through her Fenty beauty line, who in less than 1 year of its development has recently been named by Time magazine one of the 50 top genius companies ever. Prime Minister Motley seems to have got the memo. Here she said, Rihanna has demonstrated beyond her success as a pop icon, significant creative business acumen and shrewdness in business. It is therefore fitting that we engage and empower her to play a more definitive role as we work to transform Barbados. And Rihanna said, every Barbadian is going to have to play an active role in this process. I am ready, I'm excited, and I look forward to working with Prime Minister Motley and her team to reimagine Barbados. As you equip yourselves with the entrepreneurial skills and the innovation and the legal and business know-how to take yourselves to the next level, I also urge you to equip yourself with some of these soft skills that are not often taught in our educational system. And those are the skills of curiosity and imagination. Because as you embark on your new paths, you are going to have to visualize paths for yourselves that have not yet been manifested, as opposed to set templates. You're going to have to develop the skills of emotional intelligence and empathy, because we're now living in a society where it's very likely that as you chart your new paths, you're going to be working with persons from varying countries like Venezuela, who come here with new languages, norms, and habits. And you're going to have to develop the skills of humility, because in these new entrepreneurial paths, we can no longer expect that you are going to report to someone who is older than you and more qualified than you on paper. It's very likely that you're going to be reporting to someone who is half your age, simply because they dreamed up their business in their teen years while you were studying for your exams. And lastly, I ask you to develop grit, because along these new paths of innovation, it's very likely that you're going to be faced with persons who utter painful words. While I was on my journey, I was consistently asked, what's the value of entertainment law? Why don't you get a real job? But I stand here today pleased and happy and joyous that I stuck to my instinct. For there is now a country and a landscape of entrepreneurs, tech geniuses, musicians, and so forth, who require specialized legal acumen. And I'm glad that I trusted my instinct, for I knew that I stood on the shoulders of giants, intellectual property attorneys before me, who paved the way, and I encourage you to do the same. Be bold.